49 time. 49 time.
Here we are.
Welcome to Trauma Tuesday. Uh, I am Mr. Barry Botone, and would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Mr. Carmelo Ravelis.
And I am a PRSS with the Tribal Office of Recovery.
Dang.
Well,
Start it
well,
over.
well. I'm
Hit,
still
hit the end button.
still getting used to
Start over.
this. But Tribal Office of Recovery with the Cheyenne Arapaho Tribe. So, would you like to tell them?
I am the behavioral health case manager for the Tribal Office of Recovery. Mm,
Well,
that's word.
Trauma Tuesday. Did you have anything in particular?
Trauma?
Yeah, trauma wise.
Oh my goodness. I've been through all kinds of trauma in my life, man.
Lately or early on?
Lately, not as much lately. Early on in my life, I kind of grew up in an environment that was my parents were both drinking. It ended up they ended up getting in an accident, and I lost my mom that way. So
Wow.
trauma in my life has kind of been abundant since I was 8 years old. Um, it was enough to bring us to Oklahoma from Texas. I grew up only thinking that I was Mexican until I moved up to Oklahoma. So that's when I found out that we are actually native and figured out who we were. But I got to grow up with a strong Arapaho woman around here.
Mm.
I don't think that me or my brother would be anywhere close to the human beings we are today without her. She taught us a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that. And it's kind of crazy to say, but I don't think I would change my life. Yeah, I miss my mom and I miss my dad, but I only had 8 years with them, and I had all the other years with my other mom.
Yeah.
And she was the one that blessed me with all my knowledge and all the things I've learned as I've grown up. And I really respect her and her family for that, for taking me and my brother in. And, it caused me a lot of grief as I was growing up. I don't think it was the main cause of me going through my own addiction. Um, Not to mention there's several other things that went on, but I think that it was part of it. And I think that coming to terms with that and learning about it and learning how grief or trauma can cause anything in your life, and
Yeah.
being able to deal with it, going through steps and learning that everything is a process, and being able to deal with it over time it's helpful. And learning that, like you said, like we've always said, it's like, man, you figure out that it isn't everybody else that's the problem, it's you're the problem. And to figure that out most of the time and have that mindset to be able to understand that you need to fix yourself, kind of let go and let God, that's kind of a big part of it. And I think that's kind of where I am today. It doesn't matter how much trauma or how much drama I've been through, that and even to today, that if I can fully rely on Creator, if I can fully rely on God, it helps me in my day-to-day process, and it's just one day at a time. So if you start thinking too far ahead, then that can really bring you down.
Yeah. Anxiety.
Yep.
Well, I like the way that you put that. You wouldn't think that. I think at what point did you realize that your adopted family, like, which they're outstanding people. Your adopted mother. I mean, she was. I got to meet her, because of what she did for her work. And she would come and she'd talk to me like a mom. She just had that about her. She just had that nurturing spirit. You
I
know,
would have said she was the IHS mom.
yeah, for sure. But at what point did you realize that maybe it was a blessing in disguise?
Oh man, it took me a long time, um, but I had a lot of selfishness in me for a period of time, and I had a lot of anxiety, I had a lot of grief, and it took me battling that to figure out, man, even through trials, even through um, things you may be going through, you know, they always say through every valley you're going through, there's always a mountaintop on the other side of it. But you got to remember, even if you're at that mountaintop, you're probably going to go through another valley again.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
so I remember there was a point in my life, and I think it was maybe the middle. This is middle of college, and this is probably 2003, 2004. Um, I think that I think that we are. I was faced with a situation where I was really thinking about my life and the
Uh-huh.
things that and the people that were around me. And I remember being like, I need to quit worrying about what everybody else is thinking and what everybody else is doing, and I need to be able to focus on me. And it takes a lot for me to do that. And because everything that my mom taught me and everything that she raised me to be like was like, you need to make sure everybody else is taken care of, because you never know if there's going to be anybody else that can take care of you, and you need to be able to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
And that was instilled into me through since I was 8. And I remember it took a lot for me to get over that part, and I still have a lot of that in me. But I remember it also being a weight off of my shoulders when I started to think like, man, I need to be thankful for no matter what situation I'm in. I need to be thankful if I'm going through a hard time. I need to be thankful if I'm going through a good time. And I think that if we go through life and we don't show that thanks, or we're not trying to grow as we're going through a struggling season, then um, we need to be prepared for um, the angst or the anxiety or the worry that goes along with it. I just remember that being a point in my life where I was like, man, okay, you need to be able to analyze what you're going through and be able to understand that, hey, like, even if you're going through something, like, to be thankful, to be able to look at it and be able to realize that you're going to come out stronger on the other side. Um, that's a really helpful blessing for you to be able to try to guide yourself. So,
That's got to be a bright moment in your life, because when you were able to focus, how far did that take you in your education?
and I got my bachelor's done in 2005, Oklahoma State. I know that doesn't
Boo.
that doesn't make a lot of people happy, but that's where I got my bachelor's, and it took me. But in the same year, my son was born. Um, so I had to take, and now I had a full ride scholarship to go to school.
Really?
I was in the first class of Gates Millennium Scholars, and
Wow.
I remember specifically being told by those guys, because they flew us out to California for a meeting of all those scholars, and they said, you guys were chosen not because of your academics, because of who you were outside of the classroom, and still being able to hold on to your academics at the same time. And I remember I really took a lot of pride in that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I finished, like, I had my son, and I was like, man, I need to start working. I'm not going to be able to focus. You all know Gates scholars. You could have got all the way through your doctorate and had everything paid for. And I kind of fumbled that opportunity. But 10 years later, after everything, I ended up going back and getting my master's.
From OSU?
No, from Oklahoma Christian.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're in Edmond. I got that, and I got my MBA in leadership and organizational development. So I don't think I would have done that without growing up the way I did and learning the processes of being able to deal with different things throughout life, because we went through a lot. I mean, there for a period of time, even after I got my bachelor's, it was just me and Mello for a period of time, me and my son. And God continued to lead us. God continued to find people in our lives and put people in our lives that really helped us. And some of them are still there. Some of them have kind of went to the wayside, and that's life.
Yeah.
But I think both of us have kind of grown stronger over it. I got to, I have 2 new girls. They're not new. My one's about to be 12 on the 23rd. We're excited about that. My other little one is 8. They're growing into great young little women. So, throughout my time, I think just learning to be, um, just learning to be thankful, and no matter what it is you're going through is, that's a real big part. But I wouldn't say there wasn't struggles, because
Oh yeah.
there was times where, like, I went back and, like, like I was in my alcohol addiction really deep, and I would do it a lot whenever my son wasn't around, and I put myself into some hairy situations. Like I remember this one time I was passed out at a stop sign. I have no idea how long it was for. And I remember waking up, and I was this was in El Reno, and I remember waking up, and I remember being like, "Man, what the crap am I doing?" And so there was even through that, you would never think that you need to be thankful for that, but man, I could have been
Yeah, what
picked
could
up.
have
I could have
happened?
been
Yeah.
picked up. I could have been in jail. All this stuff. Like I was always protected somehow, no matter all the craziness that I went through. And it was just a point in time where I was just like, man, I don't need to be doing all that craziness anymore. And I just had to let it all go and be smarter about what I was doing,
Yeah.
and not allow grief or depression or anything like that to overtake my life. And it's kind of really helped. And but yeah, that's it led me that far. I never thought that I would be working for a recovery program, but man, I can tell you right now, my family is being affected by substance abuse um, from the beginning of time,
Yeah.
and to think that I would ever be working in this area was never something I thought about. I always thought I was going to own my own company. I was going to be doing all these things, and I remember when this opportunity came around, I was um, I was kind of hesitant, and then uh, and then I remember finding out how we could do different things and how we could be, and to see how much we've grown over the last 4 years. Man, it's exciting to be a part of a project like that, and to see how much more we're growing. I mean, now we were the tour three for a long time, then we became the tour four. Now we have 8 people with us,
Yeah.
to where it's like, man, I don't even know what to do sometimes
Yeah.
because we have so
Tour
many.
9.
Yeah,
Tour 9.
yeah. So it's exciting to see how far we've come, and uh, to know that even all of us, through any trauma or drama that we've been through our lives, we're still here. So
I would have to say that I feel like you should speak about your story more because of the success that you've had in your life. Even though the obstacles that you had to go through, losing your mother, uh I don't know, whatever happened to your dad, or
yeah,
but that's got to be traumatizing, for a kid to have to deal with all that, and then for this other lady to come into your life, and instill these spiritual values that I know you still hold on to today. That's definitely like a success story.
yeah,
And I don't know if you realize this or not, but you could really help a lot of people
yeah.
by sharing it more.
And I think that I share. I just don't share in our recovery community. I'm, believe it or not, I'm in a ministry calling. Um, so I talk, like I just got back from New Mexico, going and sharing my story and sharing how I'm trying to help people through different methods. And so um, I just never thought that I'm not saying I've been biased, but like I think people would rather hear from people that have had like your kind of story. You know what I mean? Like, and
Mm,
my story isn't the same in that sense, because I didn't go through most of the things that you guys had to go through, with our other peers and things. So their story is different. And I think so I've always kind of held that little bit of bias, and like I don't mind sharing my story. I've always been open to speaking. I've never had a problem with that. Um, but you're right. I've gone through a lot, and I'll just tell you, my dad was an illegal alien. He was one of those Mexicans that came over here and started working and found a native girl and had some kids.
yeah.
And so after whenever they had the wreck, they blamed him for the wreck, of course. When my mom passed, and they deported him back after he finished his prison sentence.
Mm,
And so he's been in Mexico ever since. So I haven't seen him since I was 8 years old. He contacted us not too long ago on Facebook.
really?
It's kind of it was kind of a weird situation for me and my sisters and my brother, um, to have him reach back out. And I think it's always been he had a different relationship with me than he did with everybody else. Mostly because I was his first son. Um, and I think that they've all confided in me and how they felt, and I think it's just different. And I think that if anything was to happen, I'd have to be the one to try to reach out and try to make sure that anything was to happen. But it come to find out, he's had two more kids while he's in Mexico, so I'm
Wow.
like half brother and half sister down there, I believe. So it's been that long, and every time that I think about it, I lost my mom to a drunk driving accident. I lost my aunt to a drunk driving accident. I lost my foster mother that came in and took care of us in a drunk driving accident. It wasn't her; she was rear-ended by a drunk driver. And to say that we're not advocates for that, man, I could tell you right now that if every single person in my family, if you're out and you're doing something, and I don't judge anybody that does that, but if you need help or you need a ride, any person in my family will gladly take that phone call and come pick you up because we've seen too many losses of life in that direction. And and I tell that to all our friends, and I tell that to all my family. And even if I have to drive an hour or hour and a half, I'd rather you call me instead of you maybe losing your life or taking someone else's life, because
Hmm.
I would have never wanted to be my brother that got that knock on the door, because it was James that got that knock on the door whenever Donna passed. And I remember getting the phone call about it, and I was just like, "There's no way that that happened, man." I was like, "We've already had all this crap happen before," and it was like 5:30 in the morning, and I remember just being like, "What in the world am I going to do? Like, how are we gonna cope?" That was the lady that would just text you or call you in the morning, and it'd be like a 10-second conversation. Like, most she'd always do it. She'd be like, "Hey, I'm just checking on you, make sure you're okay. Just wanted to hear your voice. I love you. We'll see you later." You'd just be sitting there, be like, "Okay, love you too. Bye." And that was the kind of conversations, but you miss those conversations. And she was always that kind of lady, and we loved that about her, and I know every single one of us missed that. So when I tell you that if you need somebody or you need some help or something like that, don't be afraid to reach out. And that's why I love our program, and that's why I love that we do what we do, because
Yeah.
I think any one of us would do the same thing. And we don't want anybody else getting hurt or going through any of
Yeah.
that grief or trauma or anything like that anymore. And that's kind of what drives us, and that's what our passion is. And I think that that's just that's just who we are now. And it's kind of helped us grow as a family over time. It's helped us getting closer. There isn't a day that goes by where we're not all texting each other in a group message, me and my brothers and sisters. So it's sometimes it can get annoying.
Oh yeah, like
Sometimes
being
it's
in the
just,
tour nine.
yeah, being in
Yeah.
all of our group messages that we're
Yeah.
in all the time. So uh but yeah, it's helped me grow, it's helped me learn. um but I would never ever want anybody else to have to go through that. And to lose a parent over time it's tough. And if you still have yours, cherish those moments. I know that your mom or dad can be annoying at times, but man, if you're gonna
Yeah.
miss those moments where
Yeah.
they're not there and they're not annoying anymore. And I lost mine when I was young. I've lost three mother figures in my life, and I would never wish that on anybody. And if you still have your parents, hang on to them. Learn from them. Learn from your aunties. Learn from your uncles. Learn from your grandparents, because at some time in your life, we're all destined to have that one day where we're not going to be here anymore. And learn, gain that wisdom.
Hmm.
Hold on to those nice moments. There's always going to be some negative moments, but let those pass by and hang on to the positive ones.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Do we have any comments, or who all said anything?
Drew Wilson said, "Good
Good
afternoon."
afternoon, Wapanaku.
Emily Rose, "Hi, Uncle Eyeball."
Hey, better be paying attention. What time is it? Yeah. Oh wait, you're out of school. Okay. Okay, I'll let you slide.
Norman Sheridan said, "Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon,
y'all."
brother.
Anessa Madbull, "Good afternoon, blessed day."
Good afternoon. Hey, Nessa, I'm gonna give you. I'll message you. I got a phone number for you to call. I got a good friend that could help you out. So who else? Who else?
Leo Power.
That's my brother Leo.
He said, right on.
All right, brother. All right.
David Deere said, good afternoon.
Stongo David.
Shirlene McAtee said, good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon.
Francis Lone Bear said, I read a story about trauma and grief. You can wear your trauma and grief like a badge, or you can wear it like a noose. Today, I wear it like a badge.
Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Shirlene said, I take a similar stand on grief. I knew for sure I didn't want to take my addiction further after losing my mom because of how important my kids are in my life, and also how fortunate I was that I didn't get into more trouble because of my addiction. Great advice, Carmelo. April Stevens says, good afternoon from McLeod, Kickapoo country.
Oh.
Nat says, I think because your story looks different, it is even more needed. You would be
Yeah.
surprised who you can find
You'd
that
be
needs to hear your
surprised.
story. Your story is important everywhere. Share it.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Faye says, Noah.
Nawa.
Noah.
Carmelo, good to see you. Thank you for sharing.
How you say that?
Noah.
Noah.
And CC says, hello from OKC. Come get a steak.
See, don't.
And Mary Beaver says, Carmelo, thanks for sharing.
Sister Beaver. Sister Mary.
You know, I think, you know, like I said, like to me, it's such a success story. You know, like you don't hear a lot of people with that background able to say that they've worked to get their masters
Yeah, I've kind of
while being a single father.
yeah, I think that over time I've kind of like I've never looked at it that way. You know, I've always thought like Donna ingrained that into to us that this is what success looks like. This is who you need to be. Like if you don't do this, then what are you doing? You know, like and that's not that wasn't ever like a look down on anybody that didn't do what I did. But like I know that I was one of the first people in my actual family that actually went out and got a degree, and there hasn't been that many of us. I know that there's still some that are working on it. I know that in her family, we all know that Chance went out and got his degree and the success he's had. Um, my other brothers and sisters have gone out and done that. James is still working on his. So you know, there's success stories everywhere. But like when I looked at it, I was just like, man, this is what I'm supposed to do. This isn't like me going out there and trying to strive to make myself uh, like be a success story. Like, and I think that yeah, like that wasn't ever like in my like, oh, I need to go out and do this so I can go out and share with people. Like that was never like I never felt like that was my calling. And but when I sit down and talk with people about anything that I've been through or anything that they're like, man, you need to share this or you need to
Yeah,
you
definitely.
need to write a book. And I'm just like, man, I was like, I've never thought about that. I was like, but I was like, if it helps people, I was like, then I'll do it. And that's something I've actually been thinking about. And, you know, my brother Chance has actually tried to push me into doing that. It's like, maybe write a book. And even if I collaborate with James about the things that we've been through, it's just something I've thought about. And, but sharing my story is part of it. And I do that. I do that within my church environment. I've never done it outside of that. And, you know, my testimony is part of who I am and a part of my growth and how I've become a better follower of God and who I am as a person. And I wouldn't be where I am without God. And I think that you know that's just me now. Like there isn't anything or any way I could share it any different. And I think that's you know no matter what I've been through, no matter you know who's been in my life, it's just always been he's been my one constant. And I think that I'm blessed to be able to say that, and I'm blessed to be able to have that relationship with him. And I'd share that with anybody, and anybody that's willing to listen, and anybody that's willing to sit down and have that conversation with me. I'll have that conversation with you every day, and I'll tell you exactly how I got to where I am and why I continue to seek His blessings every day, and how He helps me get through every day. And starting my day with prayer is key. Um, to understand that I need to be open. I need to be willing to use my ears to listen, to use my feet to walk on that path, to be able to understand that throughout that day, at some point, his presence is going to come in even more deeply than just walking beside you, that you need to be ready for that. You don't want to miss it. And I think that's a key point in your life to where you need to understand that whether you're just starting your recovery journey or you've been in it for years and years and years, that prayer life and that constant understanding that Creator's presence is in your life no matter what, you need to be prepared to be ready for it, and be willing to listen and have your ears open to be able to listen, have your heart open to be able to listen, and ready to accept whatever it is he's trying to tell you. And I think you've learned that over time. And I think that's to see how far you've come, man, and your understanding of faith, man, it's blown me away. Like to see where you started with your speaking and how far you've come. Like I give you all, you know, that's a truly thankful moment to see how far you've come. And I know other people see it, but like your understanding of faith and even through your trial with your eye and everything, to know that you're saying the things that you're saying, it blesses people in a way that I don't think that sometimes we don't even realize it. Because if you can be thankful for through whatever trial you're going through, I remember I literally text that to my pastor today. I said, because I'm going through something right now in my life that I don't think I've ever said thanks for. And if you can do that, if you can understand that no matter what it is you're going through, if you can thank Creator that you're going through the trial because you know you're going to be stronger on the other side, man, that kind of takes a weight off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a battle. It's kind of a battle of will within yourself. But if you can be thankful that, hey, man, I'm going through some tough times. I'm going through this right now, but you're still with me. I know that I'm going to make it, and I know I'm going to be stronger on the other side. And that's just like, man, like that. That's like grace and mercy, like every single day. It blows
Yeah.
me away to think about it like that. And I was just surprised at myself because I never thought about like that until today. And I was like, how have I not been thankful for that? And I'm thankful for all this other stuff in my life, but I've never said thanks for the trial I'm going through.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I was just like,
yeah. Yeah. One of them aha moments. So I appreciate, that's pretty cool that I feel like, like meeting James, your brother James, whenever he was like 19 years old, we had a funeral for my aunt down at the Indian Baptist Church. And for this young man to get up there and talk about God, and he led a couple of songs, and like here we are, like struggling. You know what I mean? Like we're all the same age, and we're only there because of a funeral. And it really got my attention about, like he's always like, I guess had a, and he would tease me about this, about having a special place in my heart because of what he did for my family and how comforting he was.
Yeah.
And to see this young man carry himself like that,
Yeah.
like I've always had a lot of respect for him ever since. I found it comforting, and I always wondered, like, where did this guy come from? Like who's his people?
Yeah.
Like how is this young man getting up there and speaking all these great things? And like, because I was clueless.
Yeah, we get asked that all the time. I mean, if you're around here and you don't know who we are, everybody thinks that we're CNA anyways.
Yeah, you actually in it.
Yeah, but my mom was an Arapaho lady. She was a part of the Sweezy family. Her dad was Everett Sweezy. Her great granddad was Carl Sweezy. He was one of a great Arapaho artists. They actually had a book he helped illustrate called The Arapaho Way. I remember her being real proud about that. But her mom's side of the family was Oto, so that's how she knew about what happened with us.
Oh, okay.
Our Oto side. And I remember, I'll just explain it. I remember she told us that she had a dream one night when around the time that my mom had passed, and she said that her mom had visited her and asked her to take care of us. And I remember specifically her kind of taking us in even at the funeral service, because Oto's, we have a 4 day mourning period
Yeah.
where we're together with them, with our loved one, until it's their time to go, where we actually have the graveside service and everything. And I remember every day that she took us aside and she taught us something. And we were 8 and 6 years old then. But I remember that. I remember, like, I had never picked up a mop in my life. And just that simple thing, I remember that she taught us how to mop while everybody was sleeping, or everybody was there, because we have all night wake services during that time. And I remember she was like, "We need to keep this place clean. We need to be respectful of the environment we're in." And I just remember her teaching us that. And amongst all the other things that she taught us over time. But then we find out, like, just a few days later, that's who we're going to go stay with. And her kids embracing us as, little brothers. And because that's a big change for people, man.
Yeah.
Having new kids come into your life. And like, those guys have, um, you know, given us all the loyalty, all the love in the world. And, but that's how we grew up. And then I remember we were in Enid when it first started happening, when we first moved in. But then I remember she was so happy about being able to move down here to El Reno, because this is where her people were, and
Mhm.
she wanted to learn, and she wanted to be around them, and she wanted to work, because she had always worked in like a hospital environment, and she never got to work with IHS or nothing.
Yeah.
And if you talk to anybody about her when she worked at
Yeah.
IHS, everybody knew who she was, and everybody knew that she was this is the nurse I want to take care of me and everything
Mhm.
else. And I just remember that, and I hear stories all the time about her and like the people that she helped. And if you came to her funeral service, you seen how many people were there and how many people she touched and the stories you heard. And it's just like, man, I never knew like she had touched so many lives.
Yeah.
And like, I was solely focused on, how she touched my life. And to see how much just her doing the little small things every single time that like somebody went to visit her, or just the phone calls she made or something. It was just, it was kind of overwhelming, because I'm like, man, how are we going to make it? Because she's not here anymore. And
Yeah.
then I remember us all coming together and be like, we need to be the ones that still continue to show that same kind of love and that same kind of respect for people. And because I don't want to tarnish anything that she ever taught us, or like, hey, Donna was the one that raised you. You know better than that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't ever want that to be like something that somebody comes up to say to me. Like, I want to be like, hey, I know who your mom is, so I know why you are the way that you are. And I think that's something I've kind of grasped onto, and I think I haven't let her down yet. I don't think,
Nah.
but she'll let me know one day whenever I see her again. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory about how we got here. And but yeah, man, she tossed us in at church. Like, James would always sing, and I would always be the person that went up there and talk all the time. And I think that's kind of, ingrained into me about why it's easier for me to get up and talk in front of people. That's how I met that's how I met Ernestine and all those
Yeah.
ladies down at the church. And like, if we're out someplace and people are like, does anybody have any hymns? Me and James could sing almost every Shining Repo hymn you could think of, because that's how we grew up.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't sing Pawnee stuff, or we couldn't sing Oto stuff, but we could sing all the Shining Repo hymns. And I
That's
was
the way
just,
we like it.
yeah, and I was
Yeah.
just like, man, I was like, these guys are taking over. No. But yeah, but I take a lot of pride in knowing those songs. I couldn't tell you, I couldn't start singing it now, but if I heard it, like, if you hear a song you hadn't heard in a long time, like, you're going to be able to start singing it, just because your memory will take
Yeah.
over. Like, I think I could still do that. But like, if you asked me to try to sing something right now, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Go ahead, bust one off.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Well, just like I always say, I'm Northern Kiowa. I think you're Southern Pawnee Oto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Southern Oto over
Yep,
here.
I know, right?
Well, I hope, in the future we can get you a little bit more, because I don't think you realize, how many lives your story can touch. Like it lifts a lot of people up, because a lot of people think they had it bad. and you've been able to, fight through these obstacles, and I'm gonna keep calling you a success story. So we appreciate coming on, and I was just thinking like, you don't even know what kind of corny topic I had for today. So, I'm glad that you're, and you'll see in all the comments, like everybody appreciates you sharing, that little bit about your life. So I just want to encourage you, keep coming on. I mean, you can have Trauma Tuesday. Yeah.
I'm good. I shared all my trauma. I don't mind getting on here, man. I just don't know. Like, I just feel like everybody's always wanting to listen to anybody else.
Nah,
Like, I always feel like I'm too serious all the time.
you are, but
I'm
we
not.
need that.
I'm not the
Yeah.
jokey joke person. It's
We're all a
easier when
bunch
you're
of
on that side of the
kids.
computer over there. Yeah.
But hopefully, we can encourage you to keep coming on. Because like every time I share something, it's like the next day I can find something else
Yep.
that I'm just now realizing about myself. So like it puts me in a space where I'm always trying to see where I came from, who I am today, but what it took for me to get there. And I think a lot of people can, they can hold on to those types of things. So with that, is there any more comments, Desi Resi?
No,
Resi Desi.
no,
Desi Resi?
no. Anyways, Mary Beaver says, Carmelo, thanks for sharing. Ruth Bear Shield said, yes. Dave Levi said, Uncle Carmelo Ravella's got them ways. And Vinny Vaughn Miller says, amen.
Oh,
CC says, life hit me today, but hearing y'all's live made me realize how thankful I am to be alive. I'm a survivor of overdose. Life does matter.
thank you.
Stacy Starr said, hello. Share the corny. We want to know.
No.
No.
Well, thank you, Resi Desi.
No.
That's her new name, Resi Desi. She's been branded. She's part of the Prevengers. So now we're trying to think of one for Theta. We thought, what did we say it was earlier?
You said something about the baddest or something like that.
The baddest auntie.
The baddest auntie.
The baddest auntie.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah. Resi Desi.
No, not Resi.
He's like, that one is not.
Yeah.
In the stream right now.
Oh
Well,
say it again.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We got a drum class to tend to. So, we will be back. Well, no, the Prevenger Baddies will be on tomorrow. We probably won't be able to be back until next Monday. So, we're gonna leave it in their hands. We trust them. Nah, they're gonna do great, So tune in with them.
Got it.
Y'all got it. It's gonna be all right, and we will see you next week.
Oh.